Not the waves, not the wind, but something older, something quiet, something that's been waiting there for a very long time. Most people think of lighthouses as safe places. They shine their light to help lost ships, to keep people from crashing into rocks. They're supposed to protect us. But what if the lighthouse wasn't safe at all? What if something else lived there? Something dark that doesn't want to be found. Tonight, I'm going to tell you 3 true stories about real lighthouses. Not stories from books or movies. These are real events that scared entire communities. Stories that still haunt people to this day. So turn off the lights, wrap yourself in a blanket, and listen closely, because out there in the fog, surrounded by cold water and sharp rocks, no one can hear you scream. And if the light ever goes out, you better hope you're not the only one left behind. Off the west coast of Scotland, there's a cluster of rocky islands called the Flannan Isles. Harsh, windy, surrounded by cold, crashing waves. No people live there, just birds, fog, and the sound of the sea. But in 1900, something happened out there that still hasn't been explained. At the time, a lighthouse stood tall on the biggest island. It was manned by 3 men, Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur. They were experienced, hardworking, used to being alone in brutal conditions. They'd done this kind of work before. But in mid-December, something strange happened. The lighthouse went dark. A passing ship noticed it first. The beam had gone out. Days passed with no response. Finally, a relief boat was sent out to check on the keepers. What they found sent chills through everyone on board. The lighthouse was locked from the inside. The clocks had stopped. One of the men's coats, heavy, weatherproof, was still hanging inside, untouched. That meant someone had gone out into a deadly storm, with no protection. The dinner table was set, but the food was untouched. One chair was knocked over. And the logbook, what they found in there was the most unsettling of all. One entry said, "Severe winds, the likes I have never seen." Another said, "Duckett is quiet. I am seeing strange things." The last one read, "MacArthur is praying." After that, nothing. Just blank pages. No bodies were ever found. No signs of a fight. No blood. Nothing that explained where they went or why. The official theory was that a giant wave came out of nowhere and swept all 3 men into the sea. But some things don't add up. Why would one of them walk into a storm without his coat? And why were there log entries written after the worst of the storm had already passed? Other people had different ideas. Some believed one of the men went mad, killed the others, and then jumped to his death. But again, there was no evidence. No signs of violence. And then there were the local stories. Whispers passed down through generations. They talk about the old ones. Ancient things in the ocean that no one fully understands. Things that sleep beneath the waves and don't like being disturbed. Some believe the lighthouse shined its light into a place it shouldn't have. And something answered. Even today, sailors report strange lights floating over the water near the Flannan Isles. Not ship lights, not flares, something else. And sometimes, if you get close enough and the wind is just right, you might hear voices. Not 1, not 2, but 3. They don't scream. They don't cry for help. They just argue about who should have stayed inside. Story 2. The Shadow in the Tower, St. Augustine Lighthouse. Approximate. 1350 words. Based on true reports of ghost sightings at St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida. Narrator tone. Emotional, rising fear. In Florida, there's a lighthouse known for its beauty. White and black spirals wrap up the tower like a barber's pole, its light shining proudly across the coast. Tourists visit it every day. They smile. They take pictures. But when the sun goes down, the stories begin. The St. Augustine Lighthouse is haunted. And not by just one spirit. In the late 1800s, during construction, tragedy struck. The head keeper's children, 3 little girls, were playing near the supply cart. It rolled and plunged into the water. 2 girls drowned before anyone could reach them. People say the light never worked properly again. Modern workers, volunteers, even guests, they all tell the same tales. giggles echoing from the spiral staircase, shadows darting up the steps, doors opening when no one is around. One night, a maintenance worker was alone, fixing a wiring issue at the top. He radioed in, "Did someone send a little girl up here?" Dispatch replied, "You're the only one inside." He didn't finish the job. He ran. Never came back. A paranormal team once stayed overnight with cameras and recorders. Around 3 a.m., they caught a voice, small, fragile, but clear. "Wanna play?" They found tiny, wet footprints on the floor the next morning. But the lighthouse had been locked all night. People believe the spirits of the drowned girls never left. Some even say they protect the tower. But others have seen something else. A tall, dark figure watching from the very top. Not moving, not blinking, just waiting. And when you climb the stairs at night, the air grows colder, heavier. Some people feel hands on their shoulders, pushing them toward the edge. It's not the ocean that takes people here. It's the tower itself. Just off the Oregon coast, there's a lighthouse sitting on a huge chunk of rock in the middle of the sea. It's surrounded by violent waves, sharp cliffs, and endless fog. They call it Tillamook Rock Lighthouse, but most people just call it Terrible Tilly. And honestly, the name fits. It was built back in 1881, and from the beginning, everything about it was dangerous. Storms hit it constantly. Waves would crash so hard, they'd smash through windows. Lightning would strike the tower during heavy rain. Supplies could only be delivered when the sea was calm, which wasn't often. Being posted there was like being sentenced to a kind of lonely prison in the middle of the ocean. One man, Elias Worthen, volunteered for it anyway. Winter of 1905. Everyone knew it was storm season, but he didn't seem to care. Quiet guy. A little odd, but dependable. He packed up, said goodbye, and went out to the rock. 2 months passed. When the supply crew came back, they fired the signal flare just like always. But no one answered, so they climbed up the wet rocks and forced their way into the tower. What they found has never been fully explained. Elias was there, sitting upright in his chair, his eyes wide open, not like he had died in his sleep, more like he saw something he wasn't supposed to, and froze in shock. The entire room around him was wrecked. Every mirror had been shattered. Strange symbols were scratched into the walls. The logbook was still open, and every page was covered in rambling, nonsense words. Except one entry, one clear sentence. "The waves speak now. They say my name. They told me the truth. I am the lighthouse." After that, the logbook just stops. They buried Elias in a nearby town, quietly, without much fuss. But after that, the lighthouse was never the same. The next group of keepers didn't stay long. They complained about strange noises, knocking from the inside of the walls, footsteps in the empty stairwell, and whispering low and constant from somewhere deep below. One man woke up in the middle of the night and swore he saw Elias standing on the roof during a thunderstorm. His arms were stretched wide, screaming into the sky, like he was trying to call something out of the sea. Each crew that followed lasted less time than the one before. One by one, they all left. Eventually, the lighthouse was shut down for good. Now it's privately owned. But no one lives there. They've tried turning it into different things. A retreat, a museum, even a storage space, but it never works out. People get sick. Things break. Plans fall apart. No one stays. Locals say Elias never really died. That something from the sea got into his mind, something old and powerful, and now he's part of the rock itself. Part of the storm. Part of the lighthouse. He's still there watching the coast. And when the fog gets thick, and the wind gets weird, people swear they can hear a voice coming from the sea, echoing off the cliffs. Turn back. The sea is not your friend. Cue soft, eerie music, slowly fading into silence. 3 lighthouses. 3 real stories filled with loneliness, tragedy, and fear. We like to think lighthouses are safe places, bright, steady lights guiding people home. But sometimes the light doesn't keep the darkness out. Sometimes it shows us things we were never meant to see. Maybe that's why so many of these towers feel haunted. Not always by ghosts, but by memories, by silence, by the weight of being truly alone for too long. So next time you're walking near the coast, and you see that little flash of light in the distance, stop and think. Who's up there? Keeping watch. And are they still alive? If you like these stories, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share your own creepy lighthouse experience in the comments. I read everyone. Until next time, stay safe. And if the fog starts rolling in, don't stare too long into it, because sometimes something might be staring back. The music fades out, then silence.